Hello,
Hi.
and welcome to another episode of.
I know, huh?
So today we have a very special guest, my bestie, Miss Westy. His name is
Joshua Patterson.
Patty Mount.
Welcome to the pod. Patty Mel.
That's what we call him since high
going
school.
by school.
Yeah.
I love that.
She's trying to take it back.
Yeah. It was great. Everybody should call you Patty Mount. We're
Yeah,
gonna
good.
save that for 7.
Literally.
He's the new Patty Mount.
Literally. Give him a cheeseburger.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, how long have you and Chelsea known each other?
Man, like almost 20 years, over 20 years.
We've known each other.
Okay.
We've known each other since, was it my freshman or sophomore year?
Sophomore. So
Yeah.
that's like 16.
We had biology together, and a group of us all sat together and we just horsed around.
Yeah.
Well,
Pretty
our
much.
teacher was horrible. Do you remember her name?
No.
Because I don't. I just know she was
I just remember she was an old lady.
atrocious. She was so rude all
was
the
mean, though.
time. She would fight with all of us.
She was like old and bitter.
Yeah, yes.
Mad.
Where was
Yes.
this at?
At West Mesa.
West Mesa.
Cassie went to West Mesa, but she doesn't remember.
Oh, dang. You
She,
went to
wa-
West Mesa?
she was too cool.
Dang.
No, I'm trying to think. Who did I have? It sounded like Martini.
Martini.
Mm-hmm.
You're just thinking about a martini.
Yeah.
I am. I'm just kidding.
It's the-
Think about that new White Claw flavor that's coming out this summer. Grape.
I don't really
Very
like White
excited.
Claws.
No?
I'm not into them.
I'm a seltzer girly.
They taste like chapstick to me.
Chapstick.
Damn,
Yeah.
that's such a specific taste.
That is
Yeah.
Or smell.
very, yeah.
Yes.
No, I love seltzers. And just like bubbly, like fizzy drinks in general, yeah.
So Josh and I have known each other a long time.
Nice.
We even went to prom together.
Okay.
Yeah,
Also
with a
that
group
year?
of us. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Literally.
it was really cool. It was a memory. He said that his mom still has the pictures. I know my dad has them somewhere, but
She
who
does.
knows where.
I bet you she still does. Like, I
Yeah.
hit her up and guarantee so.
Right on.
So, speaking of high school, did you, I know the answer, but for everyone listening, because I know a lot of people know Joshua as an artist in the community, and he's been doing it for how long now?
7 years.
Okay, and so did you just wake up one day and you were like, I'm going to be an artist, or has it been something that you've done since high school?
I've done it since high school.
You
I
took
think
an art class, right?
Yeah, I took an art class in high school, and I even, with my first project in that art class, I got into the State Fair art show.
Oh, I didn't know
I
that.
won second place in the state for the piece I put in. It was the sculpture type piece of the city building with the. I did like a devil's face on top of it, and then remember Miss Perkins had her husband worked with. I don't know how he got these, but he got real cow horns for me and cut them in half. So the real horns that were on the
Dang.
devil's face
That's sick.
were from a real cow. So that's pretty sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was tight. And I won second place, and that was the first art piece I ever submitted into something. So that's like from that point on, I was like, this is easy. I can do this.
This is easy.
So was that like a mixed media piece? Or
Yeah, I guess
okay.
if you these days,
Yeah.
you'd call it mixed media.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you, after high school, you had a different dream, obviously.
Yeah.
And you were chasing your faith.
Mm-hmm.
Joshua, at one time, had a dream to be a pastor. And then now he has, I think, the way everything fell into place for you, it was just like, yes, you have this dream, but God was like, this is the dream I have for you, boy.
Yeah, I think it was for me following my faith and trying to see what was in front of me and trying to like kind of follow that lead.
Mm-hmm.
And I think art was always there for me, but I didn't know how to use it as a tool to speak my own voice. So I think it was easier to find a voice in something else that was something I was adapted to. I was part of a church. I was involved in a church. I was part of ministry. I went to Bible college right when I was 19 years old. I went to California and started school. So it's something that was easy to jump into and keep following because that's kind of what was laid out in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
But finding your own voice takes you different places.
Yeah. So when
It
you
does.
did start pursuing art, was it because you were working at Canvas, or because I don't even know this?
No, I all the things that were happening in my life at that time, I was trying to find something to fall back on, and my cousin Speed been the DJ at Canvas since the day it opened. So I reached out to him right away when I started trying to get into art again. I did a Kendrick Lamar portrait, just trying to mess around with shit that I knew, and mess with programs that I kind of found myself messed in with from church. I did graphic and design in the church I was part of, and did like a lot of t-shirt design for the big outreach and like internationally with merch and different things like that. So that's kind of where I found my foot in doing merch. But with all that, I found it wasn't what I truly still wanted to do. There was still something else knocking on the door. I fell into getting into portrait work. Did a Kendrick piece back in the day after hearing Good Kid, Mad City. Got this idea of wanting to do more artwork. Hit up my cousin Speed at Canvas. He set me up with Jesus. Had a meeting with Jesus, and from there on, I got my own permanent wall at Canvas these days.
Yeah.
Nice.
I didn't know, but now
It's not really my permanent wall, but it's like
no, but it kind of makes
it's
sense
become
because
my
I
permanent
forget.
wall.
I forget that you did graphic design for so long, and that required art in itself.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
Yeah, and you had your own clothing line for a while before that, as right?
Yeah.
Before Canvas.
Yeah, before Canvas, because it all kind of was just all trying to do faith-based stuff at the time. And
Right, it was
SSR clothing.
SSR.
Sunset Road, and kind of using the flip on Sunset Road that we're all known and accustomed to.
Because that's where the
using
church
same
was,
idea.
right?
Yeah, it was on Sunset Road, and then just using Sunset Road in Hollywood and all the ties it had to it. I used to spell it S-O-N instead of S-U-N, and kind of use the idea that I'm following the sun and kind of using that step with it. So did SSR clothing for a little bit, and that was like my creative outlet at that time.
Yeah, because if anybody, like, if you know Josh, then you know the meaning behind everything, and he always has deeper meanings to everything. And once you know them, then you're like, whoa, it just makes everything that much more special.
Yeah, I think especially these days, even when, like, if we talk about art these days, with what I do these days, I think it's still a lot of people don't realize what they're looking at in the big idea or the big world. That I have never had a lot of opportunities to sit down with people and have these conversations other than what I've done on social media and it's not about looking for the opportunities, not having them, because the opportunity's been there. It's about picking the right ones and which ones I want to use as my outlets to tell that story, and not just jump into anything that hits my DMs and want to be a part of whatever. I try to be very specific with it these days and make sure the belief levels are at least on the same level and the respect levels on the same level, and all those kind of pieces fit together, because I think when those pieces fit together, it makes the opportunity to tell the story that you want to tell overall that much easier, especially when it comes to art and justice these days.
Yeah. And so I wanted to have Josh on here, and he agreed because he's my bestie. And what was he going to say? No. But I wanted to have him on here because I've seen him do interviews in the past, and I feel like they're always only about art, but Josh isn't just art. There's so much more levels to him. Mm-hmm. He's like an onion. You gotta peel the layers.
There's layers to it.
And so I want people to know him, the man behind the art, because anytime, like, I've mentioned to a couple people that I was interviewing you today, and they were like, "Oh, you're going to talk about art?" Yeah. And I was like, that's not the only thing he has to offer. Like, he's a cool person, and his art is a reflection of that. Mm-hmm. It's not just. So in Josh's words, his art is not just decoration.
It's not just decoration.
He has strong opinions on different types of art, and he really feels that art should have a deeper meaning, that each piece should speak volumes, not just be a decoration, a tchotchke.
I think it should have. I think there's, and it's not even so much about having It's not even so much about having like the idea of having a strong opinion on art. It's more of having the respect for where art came from, and seeing the stories that have been told from art from day one that we've seen written on walls and caves.
That's true.
And things like that, and petroglyphs. And I think this goes back to that respect of where art came from, that I'm not just going to treat it like it's a decoration. It's like the same for a lot of people that know me, know I have a strong opinion about neon glass.
Yes.
And that opinion comes, everybody's like, there it is. But that opinion comes from because of the respect for neon and where it started. It's not something you just bend with a piece of plastic into a design that you want it to. It's something that goes underneath fire, and you bend the glass underneath that fire, and then you fill it up with the material that it takes to create a pathway inside that glass that lights up the glass. So it's that respect where I have those strong opinions is where those crafts started from, and I just want to make sure that I bring that same level that those people took to their paintings.
Yeah.
I want to take that same approach with my work.
Absolutely. And speaking of neon, Josh is actually learning how to bend neon.
Yeah.
So he's going to be,
Oh, wow.
he had a woman who did a lot of his glass work for the pieces that he's done in the past. And now she's mentoring him so he can learn how to do it himself.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so that's...
It's fun. I mean, it's not as easy as it sounds as just getting glass. Or for those people that have blown glass in the past, they probably think it's easy to get something and bend it. It's a whole process to it. You got to fill the gas. You got to do
You
a
have
lot
to get
of
it
things.
so
even,
hot and stuff, right?
yeah, you got to get it so hot. You can't let it get too hot because otherwise you're just gonna lose your whole tube. For some of those that don't know, neon isn't something that's like burned glass or blown glass like you do a pipe or anything else or with other kind of glass works. Neon comes from tubes that are already 3-foot tubes, 8 millimeters, 10 millimeters. And those tubes is what you put together and bend the design out of. So if you get that tube hot, just too hot in one place, you're going to lose your whole tube and have to start all over. So the process that comes with bending neon, it's a lot. Like I said, I think it's kind of like something you could tell stories out of for days. And I feel like that's what you could do with art. That's what you could do with art. And justice is like the same thing with neon, is we could go on and on about how it takes being put underneath fire to get and bend and be who you are and kind of shine and go from that. So it's like,
Yeah.
I think the levels to some of these things are just where those strong beliefs come from and those strong respect come from, because it's not so much a hate for LED lights. It's so much, but it's a hate for when
Pequito.
it's a hate, it's a hate when you bend an LED sign into a neon pattern. I mean, use LEDs all you want, but don't bend them into the same pattern that you're trying to mimic of neon. Because that's a respect to that.
He has strong opinions. Even my favorite artist, Blue the Great, used LED, and Joshua was like, "Oh no!"
And he's amazing. He's done some of my favorite album covers.
Absolutely.
And I think sometimes it's not even sometimes that he maybe didn't have that choice, because sometimes those choices are taken away from us by opportunities.
Well, yeah, I
budgets
just
and things
think
like
he
that.
probably didn't have the knowledge either, because he likes to explore a lot of different mediums and stuff. He does airbrushing, he does charcoal, all kinds of stuff.
I think, and then he's done the album covers. Some of my favorite album covers, Isaiah Rashad's album cover is one of the best ones he's done.
I would love to get him on the pod one day.
He's a beast.
Manifest it.
One day.
Just got to get a connection in LA first.
Yeah, so we'll get there. We're not there yet. But so I know that you started off with portraits, and then you branched out with your own characters, and they have names.
Yeah.
And their names are Art and Justice, and that's why you keep hearing him talk about Art and Justice over and over. Why Art and Justice?
I think the simplicity of it. I think going back to my days of having friends that I looked up to in different graffiti crews, or my cousin who's a graffiti artist himself, I think one of the first things that when you come into that culture is you think of what you're going to call yourself. And that was always a wrestling match I had with coming up with what would my name be. And I remember the homie Rob just told me one day, just go by JP. Like, that's all you need these days. And that's, for those that know, that's why I go JP all the time.
That's cute. I didn't know that came from Robert.
Yeah, he wrote it. I remember the day we were kicking it at the house one day and bullshitting in the room, and he wrote it on one of my mirrors I had. He put a big JP on. I was like, that's just what it is. It doesn't need to be this complicated thing. But Art and Justice came from that idea still, where it was two easy words to play off of. And it's an easy relationship to keep playing off of, and it's easy dynamics and easy ideologies that I could create stories for days on from Art and Justice, from my last art show that was called Clowning Around, and using the circus theme and using that circus to be something that represents what we call our country and we live in with the United States, and creating the circus acts that we see throughout this place, and kind of use that idea to tell those stories. It's easy to use Art and Justice in those terms, even if I want to go as basic as talking about a simple relationship. With Art and Justice, you still have those easy things to kind of just lean on, to use different things from. You could do something with them dancing and tell a whole story on what that dance can represent, mean,
that's true.
how it balances, and the layers that you can find with their relationship, I think, is just fun. And it's easy to keep exploring. It's easy to be a person that wants to speak on behalf of my family, or someone who wants to speak on behalf of my culture. It's easy to use Art and Justice in those terms, or even if it's somebody that just wants to have fun with something and do Art and Justice in a 64 Impala like I have in the past, and just kind of represent my culture, who I am. I could do those same things with them, and it's easy to use Art and Justice like that.
So I have a question. Would you say that the majority of your art has like a political undercurrent at all times?
No, because I wouldn't.
Not political, more religious.
I think, yeah, for me, like, politics, I think, has its place. Of course, that's easy. But I think also every artist has done that.
Yeah.
And the same idea that I'll let them speak for us in some of those issues, and it's not something that I feel like I need to be entitled to, and I want to use my whole voice just to speak on political beliefs.
Well, and at the end of the day, I think a presidency and stuff, it only lasts for so long. And then when you're doing it where you're incorporating God and your faith, that's forever. So it ends up being more timeless.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's why I personally choose not to give so much of my attention to that. Because I think my beliefs, and kind of questioning those beliefs, because I think it's like something that I could do with my artwork, is question my beliefs and question what I believe in at the end of the day. It's, I guess, said in simple terms, is I could do that with that, and I don't have to create a political narrative out of anything. It's kind of me just being free with using something like I've done recently with the Michelangelo painting, that, you know what I mean, it's something that is about creation. For those that know, when I did that painting last year, I lost my father, I lost my best friend, my dog, Epic. And so to create a painting that is such about life and kind of go through a season of death, it's easy to find myself more in love with that process than trying to chase some political narrative out there. It's not my place. I think there's people in those places. When those opportunities come to speak on behalf of my community, I'm always going to speak on behalf of them. I'm going to do it in a way that represents us, though, I believe. I'm not going to do it in a way that represents what you see in the newspaper or anything like in that term. That's not what I'm chasing, not chasing what somebody else has done with that narrative. For me, I want to represent us the way I've seen us grow up on the west side here in Albuquerque, and what I remember growing up and using those different things that captured us, like neon. I mean, Route 66, you see it right there.
Absolutely.
Central, of course. I fell in love with it as a kid. I remember when they first put that sign up.
Miguel doesn't know anything about that.
He doesn't.
Her husband grew up on the east side.
Okay, yeah.
So we joke and we say he's an Upper East Sider.
Yeah, I mean, I fell in love with that sign when it went up. I remember when growing up as a kid, because we'd always go to the Sonic right there.
Yeah.
And so when
Max
right there. Crazy
So
story about Max. I went there the
Mm-hmm.
other day, and I still trip out to this day when you go in there and it costs like $5.99, $6.99.
Is it still like that? I haven't been there in a long
We
time.
should go, but
I would love that.
Well,
Yeah.
which
You
no,
love
that's
that?
that's a great price. No, what I was
Yeah.
getting at with it is like, yes, as great of a price it is still today because we all know prices today.
Yeah. I
When
can't
we-
go
when-
anywhere and spend like less than $14.
When we were students, though, when we used to ditch there at West Mesa,
Yeah.
we used to go there and it only used to be $1.99.
I don't even remember.
Yeah,
I just know
$1.99.
I would ditch first and second period like all the time.
It used to be the craziest thing because that's why we'd go. We'd ditch, go to Max, and you take you on the home and you got $5 in your pocket. You guys are covered.
Yeah, me and Sophia and Evangeline and Crystal, we would all go to the mall and go buy our homecoming shit and stuff after. We were bad.
I love it.
Yeah,
Good to
that's
know.
what
But
we did.
it's
Max.
cool because we all are from Westgate.
All from Westgate.
And so
Family.
I think when you're from Westgate, it's just a whole mindset. Like when you grow up there, I think we all know Nelson's. We all know
Yeah.
all the things in the area and stuff that everybody did.
And that
And
was one of them.
yeah.
For
And
sure.
so
And then Terry's. I was talking to somebody about Terry's today on Central.
that's
Course.
funny. You do big old Jinkos and
They got
shit.
some Jankos,
Yeah.
they got some Ben Davis.
Yeah.
That's-
It's so funny that that's like coming back now.
Yeah, that's what
And-
we were talking about. Because one of
yeah.
the little homies' sons was wearing some Jankos. I was like, that was us when we were kids. I wasn't even telling them about, remember the big elephant legs?
Yeah, the bigger the
Yeah,
better.
the bigger the
I
better,
remember my
exactly.
cousin, I think it was my cousin Daniel or my cousin Elias, I don't remember, but one of them, they would buy pants that were like sizes too big and they would just belt them up so
my
that the
gosh.
legs would be as wide as
As wide as
possible.
possible.
Yeah.
And those elephant legs were literally, that was the whole idea, is they were
Yeah.
as big as an elephant's leg.
That's funny, huh? Yeah, we
it's
were
fun.
laughing because we watched, they have I think it's called Ultra, but it's like an EDM festival that happened in Miami over the weekend. And so we were watching it and we were laughing because the guy that we went and saw in Vegas, Anima, he was playing it and we were trying to figure out how tall he was because next to the guy he was playing with, Solomon, he looked smaller. But I was like, but he still looks kind of tall. So I was like, but I don't know. He wears like those big old huge boots. And so I was trying to see if he was wearing the boots, but he had like Jankos on, like, but they were
Damn.
all black, but they were like, so you couldn't see his shoes. And so I was like, we were just laughing how that's like a thing now. And even Skrillex was wearing like the big pants and stuff
Should've
too.
been like,
That's what kids do these
sock check.
days.
Well, it's
Literally.
funny because they're not kids. Like, well, I think Anima is young, but like Skrillex is like our age or older.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure, but it seems like it.
And it's funny because he's got short hair now and he's got like a sickle beard. He just looks like a dad.
Damn.
Yeah.
He might be a dad now.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was cool. Speaking of being a dad now,
Yeah. Being a dad.
Joshua is a dad.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. It's been
He's
been an
how old
adventure.
now? 9 months?
7 is going to be 10 months.
Okay. I thought
It's
so.
April. Yeah, we're in March, April, yeah. 10 months because it's already almost a year, June 11th.
Yeah.
Yeah, 7.
How's your
Abuelito.
first year in fatherhood been?
We're in teething stage right now, so it's real.
Lots of babas.
That's not
Lots
fun.
of,
Yeah, lots
flowers
of crying,
everywhere, a lot of
unhappiness.
crying. Crying in the middle of the night, 3 o'clockers.
I don't remember my kids doing that at night during
Just
teething.
People black out. I'm telling you, because somebody else was just telling me that today. I was like, you black out those memories.
You forgot, yeah.
You forgot, because there's
Yeah.
no way you forgot these.
No, I forget like a lot.
There's no way.
It's so bad. Like, make sure that you take lots of videos and pictures and document as much as possible because in like 4 years, you're not going to remember at all, like, except for watching those videos. And then you're going to be like, oh, yeah. But they're going to look like he's going to look so different. And he's going to have a voice then and it's just going to be like, and that's what's going to be in your mind.
Literally, though.
It's so weird.
It's crazy.
It's
the
so
craziest
weird.
experience I've ever had in my life.
Yeah. And so Joshua named his kids 7, and that was a real hardship in our friendship. I know you've heard me talk about my husband, Sev, which is short for 7. So I like begged him. I was like, please don't name your kid 7. Like, no, it's weird.
Were you always gonna name him 7 or?
No, he had a bunch of different names.
I had a
Okay.
bunch of different names, I think, whenever I thought about kids. Because I thought,
Yeah.
I think about what seasons you were in life. Because I remember in the past we talked about names that were just for like cities that I thought about living in and stuff like that.
Yeah. I liked West.
West was a cool
Yeah.
one.
Because
But-
we're from the West Side.
Yeah. We grew up on the West. And it just sounds like a fun name. I think for me, I for sure knew my son's name or my daughter's name if we had a daughter at that time. I never wanted it to be just like a regular name. Like I wanted it to be some kind of like a West,
Non-traditional.
direction, like
Okay.
something, a number, something fun where it's just not like my name's Josh. Been Josh my whole life. I meet Joshes everywhere I go.
That's why you're Patty Mountain.
I mean,
why you're Patty Mountain.
it's literally. I worked at Sister Bar, which I'm so grateful for. My opportunities and being able to work there and the opportunity that's given me. But I've worked at Sister Bar for 7 years, and in that 7 years, we've had at least 8 to 10 Joshes.
Oh, yeah.
At least. You could right now at Sister Bar we have 3 Joshes. It's me and 2 other homies. We just did an art show at the press club.
Oh, I
And-
know.
yeah.
I felt like that was such a missed opportunity. I felt like you guys should have called it like the Josh Experience or something.
I think we need to redo it, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think all of us were just in seasons where I just had a son, and it was the winter, and I think it was just a
Oh,
busy
that's
season
true,
for
yeah.
everybody. That I
No, I feel like
hopefully
art
we could take
pops
a
off
step
way
back,
more
yeah.
in the summer.
Yeah, and
Like
that-
events.
And I'm learning my creative process is more in like February, March, April, like
Mm-hmm.
where I'm at right now. Because I think in the winter it's just time to sit back and
Like literally hibernate.
just hibernate, get away
and
from
just-
everything, take everything in, and
Well, especially because you have to spend time with Siete and
Yeah,
enjoy
got-
it because
got
it
it.
goes, yeah. Well, I told him, so that was, so it was a big deal. I was like very upset. Tell me, we're going to do a poll for this episode. Was it cool or not cool that he named his kid after my husband?
But before, I've never heard Chelsea use Sev's name as Seven.
Well, because I call him Seb.
you call
And
him
I also,
Seb,
I
so
told him, I
Coming
said,
from graffiti culture,
I
I thought
said
like it was
s-
Sev because I had the homies.
I
that
said,
were just
"Sir,
like a couple words.
do
know?
you call your woman Sam or Samantha?
I do both. It depends.
We all call him Seb. Well, I think because like so my husband does music, and when he would record and stuff, that was when he would be like 7. And now, like and then it felt like the fans knew him as 7, and it felt like the people who know him, it's Sev,
Yeah.
because that's like what all the guys in the band call him as well.
That's what I always knew him as.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I
As
told,
funny as it sounds, because we've known each other for so long, I just always thought it was Sev.
yeah, and
Like,
so
legitimately.
after well, and the whole way he got, so my husband's actual name is David, but we don't,
That's his government name.
yeah, we
That's the only
don't,
time it's ever going to be mentioned on the pod,
Yes.
you guys.
we
So if
don't
you're a
say
true
that.
fan, if you're a true fan, we'll quiz you later on. What is Chelsea's husband's real name?
Everybody's gonna be like Seb.
Literally.
But we don't call him that because my stepdad was an abusive weirdo and his name was David, and so I have very weird feelings about that name, and so that's why he's 7. He's Seb. That's who he is. But so I told Josh, I was like, I feel weird calling him 7, so I told him I'm gonna call him Siete. But I do.
We call
I-
him Seta too, so
yeah.
it's fun.
No, I've gotten used to calling him 7 sometimes.
Yeah.
Nice.
But I call him all kinds of things. I call him Hito. I call him,
Ethos,
yeah.
Seta, little man, baby boy.
Yeah.
That's cute. Did you give him a middle name?
Yeah, his middle name's Patricio.
7 Patricio?
Yeah.
That's his grandfather's name,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah. That's his
Yeah.
grandpa's name.
That's sweet.
Yeah, I thought it'd be cool.
Yeah.
I thought it was fun for him. I think this is his first time being a grandpa and stuff like that, and I always want to pay token to where things come from. So I thought it
No,
was fun
absolutely.
to do that.
I love it.
Very nice.
We played around with the idea of naming him Art. Like when he first found out he was going to have a kid.
Okay.
I was like,
Yeah.
you have to name it either Art or Justice. and so I do think it would have been cool, but he was like, it's too short and too plain.
Because like another thing people don't know, because I don't ever say this, especially with Art. So when it comes to Art and Justice, they're real names, real character names. is Arthur and Justice.
Mm-hmm.
I just use Art and Justice because it's easier to use Art. But like if I made, or when I make a comic book or do some more fun stuff with storytelling with it,
He's Arturo.
it's Arturo. It's Arthur.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, see, and that's what he was
Arturi.
like. He played with the name Arturo as well,
So
but he was like, I don't know. We were just like, does it sound,
you know,
Yeah.
But
so
no.
I just keep it as Art and Justice. But when it comes to the real names of the characters, it's Arthur and Justice.
No, I want to spend more time with Senor Siete. The thing that is really unfortunate that I don't think people know is that your son was born with a heart problem.
Yeah, he was born with a heart condition. It's where he has an extra electrical path in his heartway.
Oh, wow.
So what can happen is when he's breathing, the heartbeat could go into that extra electrical path, and it will just beat it super fast to where it creates. At the times, he was having up to like 200, 300 beats per minute.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's so
count.
scary.
The scariest thing I've ever been through. We were in the hospital for 2 weeks. Laying on the bed right next to him, sleeping next to him in the little room, sleeping on chairs.
Yeah, the NICU's next level.
Yeah.
He was in the
We actually thankfully didn't get into NICU.
Oh,
We did
see,
have our own room,
yeah.
but it was still,
See, that's better.
we had one single bed and
Sebastian
chairs.
was in the
that's
NICU, and it was rough.
Yeah, I can
We had
imagine.
to, like, because you don't want to, you want to be there as much as possible,
Mm-hmm.
but you're also, like, bugging the nurses. They're like, we're trying to run tests, and you're just sitting there. But, like, so I would have to go, like, in shifts, and I was on a different floor, so, and then I had a cesarean, so they would, like, Seb would have to wheel me over there, and then we'd go up, and we'd wash our hands, and I would feed him and stuff, but it was very bizarre.
It's one of the most heartbreaking, heart-building things to see your son or daughter, for anybody who's seen their kids on the bed. And just going through something you can't control.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing him get in those episodes to where you have to depend on something like medication to
And
help
it,
slow
like-
that down is real.
I feel like the pressure, because it's like when you're a parent, like that's your only job is to
Yeah.
like keep them alive. And so when like there's something like getting in the way of that, you're like, ugh.
And then it's something you can't control. 'Cause
Yeah.
it was part of him at the
Yeah.
end of the day, you know what I mean?
It's part
So,
of his testimony.
yeah, and then I think that's all it's been too, is because he hasn't had any issues, thankfully, you know what I mean? Gratefully, he hasn't had any problems since we've been home.
Yeah, but he has to take medication several times a day, which is
He does.
crazy.
Which is wild. And hopefully, after the last checkup we had,
He's supposed to get off one of them, right?
yeah, now that he becomes 1 year old, we're hoping to get off one of them and kind of just take him away from those things, and hopefully he just keeps growing,
Mm-hmm.
being
Or
happy.
is he able to have surgery for that?
So if the medication, what we'll hand out, the idea of what's supposed to happen is when he grows up, the electrical path kind of just grows, and with it, and it goes
And just
away.
like corrects itself.
Yeah,
Gotcha,
exactly. It's
okay.
supposed to be a thing. So if it doesn't correct itself and the path stays there, as he grows, what will happen is, I believe, I'm probably wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure when he's at least 4 or 5, he can have heart surgery.
Okay.
And as hardcore as that sounds, it'd be hardcore heart surgery where they go in for his leg.
Through the legs? Yeah.
Okay.
And
My
what they
aunt
would do
just
is
did
just
something like
freeze
that.
the little path.
Oh, wow.
And they would freeze the path, and then it would be something that we wouldn't even have to medicate anymore, because that would be the resolution we're looking
Yeah.
for.
Okay.
Yeah.
So hopefully it sounds like, and it feels like he's
Yeah.
just kind of growing out of it personally. He's the happiest kid ever, except for when he's
a
not
happy
teething.
baby.
Oh, yeah. Except for when he's like, my teeth are fucking hurting.
Yeah, except when his slobber's coming
Yeah.
out and he wants to bite on everything. And
Aw,
And
poor little guy.
he's a big boy. He's not a little guy.
yeah,
He's cute.
Wild. It's wild to see them grow
Yeah. It goes by so fast.
so fast. I'm like, he's already almost crawling, and it's like, dude, you're just here like 7 months ago.
Yeah.
Now you're gonna start crawling, walking.
Walking. Really soon.
Oh,
really
You
soon.
can see it happening. He's so determined to move around. It's one of the wildest things to
Once he
watch.
starts crawling, he'll start cruising where they like stand and go along like the couch and stuff, and then he'll start walking.
Yeah, and that's him.
It's so cute. I know that you said, which obviously because it's your child, that was the hardest thing that you've ever had to go through. But you've also been through something else that I'm sure had to have been extremely hard, which was, what year was it?
2023.
Okay. 2023,
No, 2022.
22?
Yeah.
Joshua had a random seizure in the morning, correct?
Yeah.
After you let out Epic?
Yeah, I let out my dog that morning, and that's the last thing I remember.
So, it's crazy because he called me from the hospital, right?
Yeah,
Or did you
I would
call
imagine.
me before? I don't remember. I think you might have called me when they were on the way.
Yeah, I probably.
And you were like, I just woke up.
It was,
Epic was jumping on me, like freaking out. And so you had a seizure outside.
Yep.
You fell and hit your head.
My back.
Well, oh, wasn't it both? No?
Just broke
Okay.
my back, yeah.
You hit your back on the concrete.
Yeah. I think where I fell is I must have hit the edge perfect, like to where it comes together right here at the corner.
Mm-hmm.
And I must have
Like a step.
just hit it perfect.
Yeah. So they took you in the ambulance and they knew you had a seizure because you had bit your tongue
Yep.
and you were
sign.
bleeding. And so then I remember you were at the hospital and they were treating you because of the seizure you got pneumonia.
Yeah.
Your lungs filled with fluid.
And blood.
Yes. And so because of that, they were treating you for the pneumonia and you kept complaining about your back and they kind of were like being a little dismissive.
Yeah, and I'm not a doctor, so I can only say how they go about their jobs. But from right off the back, I let them know something was bothering my back. They said that it was the pain from a pneumonia. I've never had pneumonia either, so I kind of just leaned what they were saying because where I was explaining it was coming from, he kind of thought that based off what happened, me having a seizure, swallowing blood, having pneumonia, I had they called it liver disease at the time because your liver's trying to process all the blood that I swallowed. So he said a combination of those things, that's likely the pain I was feeling. I kept telling him for 3 days, though, until I got an x-ray finally. And they
then
saw
they
I
were
broke my
like-
T7 vertebrae.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he had to
It only
get...
took 3 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It only took 3 days of him being like, no, my back fucking hurts.
I can only stand up next to my bed and take a piss.
Yeah. And so then you ended up having to have surgery. But you had to wait a long time, I remember, for the surgery too.
Yeah, because the way the surgery worked is it's actually more common surgery than people realize.
Well, because you said Mateo's had it also, right?
Yeah, Mateo was telling me one time, I can't remember if he exactly broke one of his vertebrae, but I think he broke his lower back. But even the surgeon who did my back, he was like on his 4th one that week.
Shh. That's crazy.
So, yeah, I broke my back, and I think it was a combination of those things at the time. I was overworking myself.
Yeah, big time.
Overworking myself. All I did was work at the time and try to put all my pressure on myself to work, and didn't take care of myself as much as I probably should have at the time. And it led to me breaking my back and finding out I have epilepsy.
Oh, so you didn't know you had epilepsy until that moment?
Yes.
Yeah, I've never had a seizure in my life. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
And now you've had 3, right?
Yeah, and like the second 2, I always tell people because it's not so much.
Well, it was your fault.
They're my. The second one was me and the doctor could shake hands on it. My primary doctor for the second one, when I had the second seizure a couple months later, I had another seizure while I was sleeping. Woke up, same thing, had to call the ambulance. And but at that time, I spoke with my primary doctor, and he told me that he would have never put me on the medication I was on after having one seizure. So with that, I stopped taking the medication I was on, thinking I didn't have to take it because I was somebody who never took medication, so I didn't want to like start taking medications or dependent on it.
He was being stubborn, like we
I was
all
being
are.
stubborn, yeah. And like, well, when the doctor tells you to, you're like, okay, well, he said so.
Right.
But one of the common side effects of the medication I take, you miss it without getting, like, the whole idea of Keppra, the way it works is you're supposed to kind of get taken off of it gracefully. So lower the doses, lower the amount of pills you take a day, kind of thing like that.
Like a taper.
Exactly, taper it off. For me, I stopped taking it cold turkey, and the number one thing that will happen when you stop taking it cold turkey is you will have a seizure.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's what happened that second time, is I had a seizure, went back to the hospital, got on my medicine, and then made sure I took it every day until an art show came up.
Yeah, and then the next one was because you missed doses.
And the next one, as stubborn as I am, like when it comes to art, and I think for me, where it comes from, with my background, when it comes to art especially, is you've never seen a lot of opportunities like this growing up. And you never see a lot of times of opportunities. Think you're going to have these different ways and ideas of showing your art in places you never thought you'd be able to. So even something simple for like this show that the third one happened at was just at Farina's. It was a place that I enjoyed going to my whole life. Me and my ex, it was one of the spots that we used to go to all the time, and to always think of all the artwork I seen there, and just kind of want to be a part of the club that showed there. When I had the opportunity to, I wanted to do my best. So I was doing a piece for that art show where I did a flip on some 90s games of like Operation.
Yeah, super
Live, cool. A bunch of fun games we just remember growing up and kind of turning them into real life situations with art and justice. But I did a whole game board called The Prolongation of Clowning Around, and it's the idea of like what was always longing to come is going to come, no matter what's kind of going on in our lives. And with that art show, I got to a point where I ran out of my medication, and I was at the studio night and day. And instead of going and getting a refill, I was stubborn and didn't take my medication. And unfortunately, one morning, I had a car accident on the freeway because I had a seizure while I was driving.
Did you feel it coming on at all? Like, is there ever any
No warning signs?
No.
You were just driving on the freeway?
That's the last thing I remember.
Yeah. Wow.
And now he's diligent. I was
now
like,
it's like
we're getting you a pillbox. We're setting alarms. We're doing all the things.
Yeah, I do it all for the most part these days. I mean,
no, I think even from the first seizure you had, it gave me, like, I felt a responsibility to make sure that you were taking better care of yourself.
Yeah.
As your friend. I
think, and it's as hard as it sounds, is like, because I think sometimes people think taking care of ourselves has to look like, oh, I'm addicted to something, or I'm an alcoholic, or I'm this, or I'm that, or the other.
Yeah.
But people don't realize taking care of yourself is also managing your time. It's also managing how much you show up to work and how much time you have to rest.
How many days you're eating, like how many times you're eating throughout the day.
What meals you're eating.
Yeah.
How much sleep are you getting? Are you hydrated? There's like, I think some people think of it always as something.
He would run off of like 4 hours of sleep for like days.
And just because I had this idea that I had to work. I mean, I was by myself. I was pursuing art by myself. The type of artwork I do it's a big investment for me. It's a constant investment. It's not something where I just get a canvas and some paints and neon's not cheap. It's something that you got to pay for.
Even wood, everything.
Wood, making sure the homie does it right. Cameron, making sure he builds everything the right way.
Because he does your frames, correct?
Yeah, and I'm very, like, one of the biggest things for me when it came to art is especially learning, because not when I first started, I wasn't always the best, but learning to want everything to be perfect, and not even the idea of it being perfect, but putting your best foot forth. So for me, if it takes me 10 months to do a painting to make sure it looks the way it's supposed to, I'm going to take that 10 months if that's what that investment takes.
And I'm his biggest critic.
It's because I don't want to rush anything, and I think everything will come out in the right time. And you kind of just trust that, even though it doesn't always feel good. It's easy to say those kind of things, but when you're in the moment, and people that have to deal with me on a daily sometimes are like, this dude, he's just stressing art right now, or he's just thinking about art right now.
Well,
he's
you
thinking
just
about
have,
the next
you
move or
just
the next
are always
idea,
overthinking.
and
yeah.
And it's for me because especially when it comes to art, the hardest thing that I've had to learn, I think, and kind of tone down, I feel like, is coming into art for me. Like, again, going back to where we grew up on the West Side, like, you played a basketball game at the courts in the apartments I grew up on, it's competition. You go into the swimming pool, it's back and forth competition. I wrestled in high school, it's competition. Like, everything we did, you got a car, who's gonna make it faster? It was competition. Everything was always competition growing up. So
I think that's what turned me off of art, if I'm honest. I saw, like, I think once I started getting, because I painted for a time in 2020, I like picked it up and ran with it.
It still owes me a painting.
Yeah, and it's half done. It's half done, and I think about working on it all the time.
Do it.
I need to. I think so for the last couple years, I got like super into reading books, and that was like all my free time would go to reading books. And so now I think I just finished a book, and I don't know what I really want to read next. So I was kind of thinking I might like take a little break for a few months and maybe pick up the brush again.
Yeah,
but
finish.
When I did start getting into that world, the community is, I mean, it's a large community, and there's so many egos and so many, and it does feel competitive, and it like sucks the fun out for me, because I didn't want to, like, because I am very competitive. And that's why, like, in high school, I didn't play sports, though I wanted to, but I'm short. Obviously, we've talked about this. And so I knew I wouldn't be the best at whatever sport I played. And that was like, so I was like, I'm not even going to try. And so that's why I ended up in choir in high school. And I did well, and I got honorable mention, best soprano. No. I was the best. So I get why you have the drive that you have when it comes to the competition in the community. But I also think you need to give yourself credit, because you are in Canvas, you're in Sister, you have a huge mural at the Albuquerque Collective, you have a mural right here on First Street, you have you have all these things, all these major accomplishments, and you've even said it that you don't take a step back to see everything that you have done.
Yeah, and I think part of that I love, and part of it, like, when you notice it, it's like, damn. But the part of it that I love is it keeps me with my head down. And I love the competition part personally. I want to be the best, and I think that's a big deal to me when it comes to art. And and it's not, being the best isn't so much of going out there and doing better work than anybody. It's so much more to me about the way you tell your story and the art of telling your story, and
perfecting your craft, I'm sure, because if you look at your art, and I think it's from almost 7 years ago to now, it's come such a long way. Yeah.
Well, I think even for those, like, if you want to take it that step, for me, where the competition even goes to another level is when I did break my back. For those that don't know, before 2022, and I broke my back, I did a lot of my artwork with Adobe Illustrator, Adobe Photoshop, when I'd come to perfecting it and actually doing the painting size things.
So you would get like renderings.
I wouldn't know so much call them renderings, but I'd create my own blueprints and illustrate them so where I knew what I was going to cut exactly.
I feel like there's a comfort in that to an extent, because there's not all, you take out like a lot of the guesswork. Because when I paint, I'm like, it starts off and I have a vision, and then midway I'm all, fuck, this looks like shit. Because you haven't outlined and stuff. It's all blobby and messy, and then like you get like discouraged kind of, where you're like, I fucking suck, this is gonna look shitty, why do I even do this kind of thing. That's why, like, it's funny, because when I was painting, everybody would always be like, oh, that sounds so relaxing, and I was like, no, it's the complete opposite. It's so stressful. Like, once it's done, yes, you have like this great feeling of accomplishment, and you're like, this is awesome, and I made that, and it's like your baby, you know. But no. And there's so much thinking. Like, my brain never stops when I'm painting. Like, whatever, like, when I painted the Jordans, I painted that with my dad in mind because that's all my dad wears. And so it was a boy and a girl, and that it's, which people don't know this story, but it represents my dad and me kicking it together. So it's special, and that's why I haven't gotten rid of it, even though I know a lot of people that want it.
That's a sick one.
Yeah, but but so like the whole time I was thinking like about my dad. I was thinking about different memories and all, and that's been a thing like with several different paintings. Is it like that with you? I'm sure, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I think like going back to that, like before I broke my back, using something like I was so accustomed to using from my previous job with doing graphic design and stuff like that, and letting that be my creative outlet. What really happened when I broke my back that a lot of people don't know is I broke my back and I couldn't work for a couple months. So I got put in some positions where I had to sell some things. And one of those things I sold was my computer. It was one of the hardest things for me to do because I depended on it so much when it came to art, where I was at that time in art.
But it pushed you, right? It pushed you to, then you started sketching and...
Yeah. I mean, I got back in my sketchbook, and now I won't touch a computer. Unless I'm doing some merch, of course, of some silly things like that, if you want to get critical and be like,
unless you're making our logo.
Let's make some logos or helping out some other homies with some things. But I won't touch a computer when it comes to painting anymore these days. It pushed me to a place where I found who I was. As funny as it sounds to break my back, but... it's like, especially when going back to wanting to be a pastor or seeing myself being used in ministry in that manner or preaching over a pulpit, it's easy to tell a story in those days referring to the Bible and what story you want to refer to when you're telling your message or speaking your message. But to actually live one where you feel like I was Jacob in Genesis and I literally got broke, like literally. It's a real story you can relate to, and it's just like, wow. It's humbling. It's
Josh's favorite is Paul, though.
Oh yeah, I mean, when we come to
it's so funny because I've been reading the Bible from front to back, and I come across different stories, and I'll tell him, "Oh, you're like this person," and he's like, "Shut the fuck up." I'm like, Paul. I'm all, whatever.
The Apostle Paul, I think people don't talk about him enough. You want to get into it?
No, I think that's all they talk about because he's the whole New Testament.
He wrote it, but I don't think he's necessarily the person people realize what he went through and the perfection that he strived for.
Oh, he's the blueprint of how we should be. I
think the reason I would say he's the blueprint is because he messed up. He wasn't perfect, and
well, that was everyone.
Yeah, but the other people, I think. You get
that was
into,
David.
Like,
that was everyone.
Yeah, but they always carried themselves to where they thought they were a step above others. And I think with the Apostle Paul, you see somebody that...
he was in the nitty-gritty.
He was in the nitty-gritty.
He was.
He was one of the ones that was really putting forth work and building something that's why you see it today, is because of someone like that he carried it on his back. I think you go to stories from the Apostle Paul, even when he was blind off his horse and fell off his horse for the first time and had something on his eyes that covered him. It's stories like that I think people don't realize, or they think of them too figuratively, like, oh, the Apostle Paul fell off a horse and got this clay all over his eyes. And which, if it happened like that, it happened like that. But think of it figuratively, the idea of, like, sometimes some people need to get knocked off their high horse and get blinded by something to see where they need to go. And
I know some people.
I know a few.
Just put them on blast right now, Chelsea. Just put them on blast. You know what? Let's segue. That's perfect. Here's the list.
We won't say, but if you know, you know. If you know Joshua, then you know.
But I think it's just like, it's crazy to me to think stories that you could really relate to. Like, yeah, it's wild because what I don't talk about enough, and I think this is for me, goes back to that person that's just striving for perfection in art and trying to be that to the community and be that to the youth. That's what the responsibility I carry when I take on something that I'm stressed out about, or I take on something that I'm striving for perfection, is because I want these youth out here and these people that are from the same part of the city I'm from, or even the same city that I'm from, or same state at that, to see somebody that's from where they're from. Right. Trying to go out.
That's actually doing it. That had a dream and is doing it.
Yeah, because for me, I would never think I'd be selling art in a gallery in Old Town. Like,
yeah,
of course,
he's in Lapis Room. if
Yes.
you want to check out some of his work. Yes. Speaking of the youth, though, you've also been working on a class. You've been teaching a class to high school students, correct?
Yeah, I'm teaching a class right now to high school students, and it's been really great. It's at Tierra Adrento.
Is that a charter school? Is that what you said?
Yeah, it's an art charter school, and it's a fun class because it's 20 students, and the class is titled Stencil Techniques Self-Portrait. And it's not so much about them doing a portrait about themselves, but I really wanted to go in there and get them thinking about who they are and who they are and who they want to be. And I think those are questions I wish was asked of me more when I was in high school. It was like, who are you? Who do you want to be when you get out of high school?
But I was always lost with that. And I feel like even now, in my old age, I'm still trying to figure out. Like, I feel like I'm finally coming to a point where I know who I am. And I'm still trying to figure that out. Like,
yeah, because
I'm starting a podcast.
I think because it goes to being a journey, and I think that's what I like to teach them these days with them.
Yeah.
Like I was talking to them about it. It's like, for me, it started at portraits. I found out who I was. I wanted to be an artist. I wanted to give this everything I had.
No, I think it's special
And
when
it's finding
people
that.
can find that passion so early. Because even Senor Lynch, who works here at the studio,
Shout out Joseph Lynch.
yes, he was just telling us today that, so he worked in the news, correct? The news.
He said
He was a
class.
cameraman he was a cameraman for the news for like, I don't know how many years. But it all started in high school. He had his own, what was it called?
Like a little radio station.
Yeah, like a TV
And
station.
he
A
got to do
TV
it
station.
for 3 hours a day.
Yeah, he got to do it in high school. And so all of that, like, it's crazy how you can have a dream and a passion so young and it blow up and you live that out your entire life. And so I think it's cool that same goes for you. Like, you had that art class. It was funny because I didn't even really know that you took an art class. But my friend Pablo, he is a fan of your work. And he was like, hey, I think I remember him from West Mesa. I think we had an art class together. And I was like, dang, I didn't even know he had an art class then.
Yeah, because I mean, especially when it comes to
It's
art
weird
these
because
days,
I feel like I know you so well, but then there's still so many things that I don't know.
It's
Yeah.
it's like going to New York.
Yeah.
You're always going to find something new.
Yeah.
I think the other thing about art is I'm self-taught. Like, I didn't really learn from anybody or go to school to learn. I never took an art class outside of high school ones. But it's just when you fall in love with something, you fall in love with it, and you don't know how to let it go.
That's true.
Well, and talent is a talent.
Yeah, and
Like,
part of
that's
it.
just, you've got it or you don't, I think, with some things.
I agree.
Some things can be learned, but some things just come natural.
Yeah. And I think when you have like the natural ability, it's the work or effort that takes it to the next level, because
Yeah, the grind.
the grind, pushing through it, being willing to make sacrifices others wouldn't make. And I try to do that when it comes to art. It's never about what I can make off of it. It's always what I can make off it and invest back into it and keep taking it to another larger scale, more than I did the last time.
What are you currently working on?
Currently working on some
Because
things.
you have a show coming up, correct?
Yeah,
In August?
July 31st.
Okay.
And where is that at?
It's going to be at Lapis Room.
Yes, which is huge. It's awesome for him. It's a major accomplishment.
Yeah, I've never had a solo show at a gallery besides my own gallery where me and my homie opened up one. So, yeah, I'm in my cave.
Nice.
Yeah. He's working on some
I'm in my
things.
cave out here talking to my best friend, too.
Yeah.
And Cassie.
No, that's awesome. So sorry, just to make sure I'm understanding correctly, you're showing all by yourself? Like
Yeah.
all of your own?
Not the whole gallery. I
Well,
wouldn't
yeah,
say
the
the whole gallery,
gallery's
but they
big,
have like a.
so
Okay,
It's
I
a good-
haven't been. I've been meaning to go.
they
Yeah.
have like it's the downstairs area, right?
Yeah, they have a couple of rooms. So it's going to be
Downstairs.
the downstairs area.
Nice.
It's like one step down.
Yeah.
But they have a really cool spot that I'm excited. They have big walls. For me, I see big walls, and you want to go big. Because, like I said, at the end of the day, it's not about selling them to me. It's
Yeah.
about just showing what you can do, and if they sell, they sell, and they'll find their place in history when they find that place. I think for me, it's all about getting back to this expressing who
Well,
you
you
are.
have shown your work in, was it Ohio?
Yeah, I've done the show in Cincinnati before.
Yeah. So you've shown your work there. You've also shown your work in New York.
Yeah, I've shown in Brooklyn twice.
Dang.
Yeah.
And I really want him to show in LA.
Yeah.
I've been begging and pleading and pushing and pushing and pushing.
LA's next.
Because I want him to do what is it called?
The other art fair.
Yes, the other art fair out in LA, because his art, obviously, I'm sure all of you have seen it around town. It has a lot of culture in it. And as a brown person, if you've traveled the US, you know that our culture only goes so far.
There's only one home.
Yeah, and I do think that California is the closest to. If I were to move, I would love to move to California for that reason, but it is astronomical out there.
Yeah.
So I don't know. And
And you know what these
and the
tourists-
crime and
Just
just like
kidding.
little things that I think I would be better fit in, like Oregon, because I love it there. But I really want him to get it out there, because I'm like, so he showed in New York, which is great, but New York, their apartments are as big as this room.
Literally.
So and Josh does large scale paintings, so it's like they don't have space for them.
And that was always my biggest issue there. I'd go over there with big paintings,
Yeah.
and everybody that wanted to buy something,
They did show
Their
your
first
stuff
thoughts.
though at the
Knicks.
at the Knicks Stadium. It was digital, but it's still awesome. And then you, because of COVID and everything, you also did was it Miami?
Oh no, I never did the Miami one. After.
Oh,
No,
okay,
no.
okay. But it was you
There was an
almost happened.
opportunity,
Yeah.
I'm personally just not a fan of showing art digitally. I think
Yes,
if you're gonna show it,
that's
it needs
what-
to be
Show the
physical.
real-
Yeah, that's what I
Absolutely.
was getting
Yeah,
to, is
yeah.
it was going to have to be digital because of COVID and everything.
Yeah, and I wasn't a big fan of showing. I think especially with my artwork,
Yeah, no, once you see it in person, because even
I'm not even a fan of putting up pictures on Instagram personally. Like, I'll put them obviously because you have to, and it's part of where we're at these days. But you're never gonna be able to enjoy large scale work. till you see it
no,
person.
in person it is so much different. A lot of pictures don't do your work justice. No.
Do you have like an ideal place you would like to show? Like if someone came to you today and said, "We love your art. Like you can show it anywhere,
Anywhere in the world.
and you say, "Okay, right here." Where do you want to see your art the most?
The
Like where would you? Yeah.
Brooklyn Museum.
Okay.
Well, so
I think for me,
Josh loves New York.
I love New
He,
York, but I
he
think,
lived there for a short time, and so New York is like his spot. Anytime he's always trying to go on vacation in New York, and I'm like, bro, you've been there a bunch. Go somewhere else.
I think part of me, for me, it's when you go to New York, and when I went out there, the first time I went out there way back in the day, it's taking our culture to New York. Because you see a brown culture out there, I think, for sure, obviously. But I don't think you see Chicano culture out there as much as I
No,
wanna
because
bring
they're
that
like
part of
Puerto
it.
Rican and
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
more Dominican.
Yeah.
And you see a lot more different cultures in that manner.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all cultures that are very like diverse and love to learn about. But I would just love to I think the challenge, it goes back to doing that at a small scale here at home. For me, I would compare that to doing something in Santa Fe. Because I think the idea of, not to say that Santa Fe doesn't have our culture, but I think what Santa Fe doesn't have, and I think what it's missing a lot of times when it comes to the world of art, and not to say the world of art, I know it all because I know what Santa Fe represents to the art world too, and I have a profound respect for that. But I think when it comes to modern contemporary fine art and street art and finding new artists, that's what you don't see pushed in Santa Fe, and I think that's something that I'd like to see pushed in Santa Fe more. When I use terms like bringing MoMA to Santa Fe and bringing the Museum of Modern Art to Santa Fe, is because of those feelings that I've had since I was a kid, where I go to Santa Fe and I could go to Canyon Road, and there's 250 galleries I could walk up in Canyon Road, and they all remind me of the same thing I've seen since I was a kid.
Yeah, that's one of my dreams. Is I'm like, I know I'll have real money when I can just roll up in a Santa Fe and I want to buy a piece of art and a real good pair of boots.
Yeah.
And then I'll be like, okay, I know.
I've made it.
Yeah. That's enough funny.
Those are good goals.
Yeah.
Santa Fe has a lot of great stuff, and that's why I say I have a profound respect for it and what it is to our community. But I think there always has to be a but when you're an artist and you're trying to push things forward. And that's all I'd want to do, not by myself, but I think there's a team of artists that can do that, and a team of people when you get together can do that, and so that's what
I feel like Santa Fe, there's definitely like a barrier that needs to be broken down.
Mm-hmm. You just need
Culturally.
a little bit more breakdown.
They need some brown people in there,
Sounds
is what
good.
we're trying to say, okay? He's doing it too polite.
Yeah.
I told him we're not doing these polite interview bullshit. To say what it is.
Just want to see some more Chicano in the art world.
Yeah.
out there. I mean, and then that's it. At the end of the day, I just feel like Chicano culture could be pushed a little bit more in Santa Fe when it comes to the art world. Yes, I know they have a profound respect for us, and that's why you see the lowrider stuff everywhere, and you see the lowrider shows, and they'll do the carousels and the light things and all that stuff. But when I walk into galleries,
No.
I don't see it.
No.
Yeah.
That's why he eventually is going to take my advice. He does have plans to maybe move.
Yeah.
And I told him, because I don't think that but in a sense, I do think that you have capped out here. Mm-hmm. Albuquerque only offers so much. And I do think that if you were to move to California, there is no doubt in my mind at how successful you will be there.
I think it's just a challenge, and I think that's what I would love about it, is just going out there and
You will be the next cause.
going out there and dare yourself to dream like that. I think is fun in itself already, and to kind of leave that trail for my son those are the goals.
Mm-hmm.
To show him that like the tools for those that really know me, and not to make light of a situation, but one of the reasons I go as hard as I do, especially now as a dad, is my dad back in the day used to write songs and send them to record labels. He loved country music, and he wrote songs and sent them to record labels. And he used to have this suitcase when I was a kid that had songs in it and letters back from record labels and stuff like that from where he was sending his songs. And for whatever reason, he stopped pursuing that. And I'm sure a lot of it had to do with having kids. And for me, I think that's why I feel a pressure these days to make sure I take it up a notch, because I want to honor him by keep doing what I hoped he would have done. I think seeing the other side of it, being the son that, not to say stopped him from dreaming, but played a part of that.
And now maybe you can understand how being a father can be consuming. And,
for sure.
Yeah.
And I think at the same time, with that same understanding, though, is where I still look at that same son, and I'm like, I want to make sure he knows he can dream.
Yeah.
And I think as a man, it's hard to find like you always hear the term of people having the term daddy issues being pushed towards women, because I think a lot of men don't take the responsibility, or they don't know how to have the confidence in who they are to say that I had daddy issues.
I have
sounds
mommy
like
issues.
such a female term. It's like such a female term, and I don't say that like that.
No, yeah, because they
like
say
that
like
because where I grew up, and when I say things like that, it's from the culture I come from.
Yeah,
it's
because
used as a female term.
Right, women who are
have
more
daddy issues,
promiscuous and stuff like that, they say they have daddy issues, so they're searching for
And I
that
think-
in men.
Exactly, and I think for me as a man is like you had daddy issues, and the idea that you're always looking for a father figure.
Mm-hmm.
And I know where I found that, and since I know I found that, it's easy to have the confidence in looking at your dad and still have that same grace that you hope to have.
I do think,
any of it.
like, since becoming a parent, I have more grace for my parents.
You have to.
I think I held a lot of grudges growing up, because I didn't quite understand. And now that I'm experiencing it and living it. But I will also say that now that I am a parent, I also have different grudges.
Yeah.
Because I'm also like, the way I feel for my child, how come you didn't feel for me, kind of thing. And
Interesting.
yeah. No, I've been telling you I want to talk on the nature versus nurture conversation.
Do it.
Because it is deep.
It's a deep conversation, because it's like it's easy to see those things, and when you see them from the other side, it's easier to have grace with them. But at the same time, I think where you're one of those people, if you want to push your family forward, I think that's what I try to do when I say I don't want to be better than my dad because I kept pursuing my dream. I just want to honor what my dad didn't do by doing what I wish he would have seen it from the other side.
You wanted to
like,
change it. I think like
exactly.
our generation is stepping up in that sense where we're definitely trying to like break those strongholds and generational curses and be different.
Yeah.
And who knows if it's for the best or not? We won't know until our kids are grown up and see what kind of trauma they have. But I do think that like we want to be better.
Yeah.
I think like for our parents' generation, the standard of parenting was keeping us alive. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
like they just fed us and made sure we were alive. And yeah, well, honestly, and
Really
now
well.
like the standard is so much higher. Like we are trying to be there for them emotionally and just
and even financially.
yeah,
right?
just
Like, I
all
think
around.
That's okay to talk
I mean,
about.
I think my parents financially they did their best always. So I don't hold that against them. It's just like making the time. Like I think love is more than money. It's
for
time spent.
I mean, yeah,
you
when
know?
it comes to that type of thing, of course,
Yeah.
and I think just spending time and learning to be there and be present and like knowing when to turn art off and get with my son and play with him and hang out with him
Yeah.
and build those memories of not thinking, well, he's young and I can just keep doing art now.
Well, and
I
the
think
crazy
there's still,
thing
like,
is
Chelsea said, there's still things you want to take it. You still want to remember when he's
Right.
a baby.
Yeah.
So it's like you want to take time with those moments.
And
So
you always hear people say like it goes so fast, so cherish all of it because it's a short amount of time that they're gonna like want to hug you and kiss you and do all those things. And I'm watching it happen because my son is about to be 11 now, and he just gets further and further, you know.
yeah.
And it's crazy because I'm like, oh, in a couple years I'm gonna have to buy him a car, and then he's really gonna never be around, and then he's 18 and who knows what he's going to want to do. And
Or who knows what he's going to do.
yeah,
It's like so
I
much.
don't know if he's going to want to go to college, and if he does want to go to college, if he wants to go out of state, and who knows. And so it really, everybody says it goes by so fast, but it really does. And it's so scary.
It's wild to me.
It's going to be awesome to have his first birthday and stuff, and he gets to eat his cake, and it's going to be cool.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. You're gonna have to do something like very themed. Give it some art direction.
Well, you guys still have to do your photo shoot.
Oh, we got one coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's going to be fun. Well, I think we've beat what is it, the phrase
What?
where you're like, talk too much about art or something, you know, beat the horse with a stick or something. I don't remember what it is.
We're doing what?
But
No,
so I think we know you on an art level. I think we did get a little bit personal,
Oh yeah.
but
I mean, a lot of people don't even know I have a kid.
yeah.
You know what? We're gonna put this behind a paywall. Subscribers only.
But so I want to ask you just like cheesy questions.
Okay.
What's your favorite color?
Red.
What so I think everybody knows this, but who is your favorite musical artist?
Kenny.
He's a huge Kendrick Lamar fan. Obsessed.
I think it's just
He's
it goes back-
obsessed.
It goes back to like if you're a Tupac fan growing up, and I think this fool. I think it's one of those things where it's show me somebody who can tell stories better than the guy.
JID.
When it comes to an art, it's next level. JID doesn't have anything on Kendrick. We won't even, you don't want to do the rap talk right now.
No, she loves Kendrick too, so you guys
I do.
you're in on it. Okay, so we got your favorite artist, favorite place to eat in town. I know what you're probably gonna say, just because.
I think it's funny that because I would say that even if I wasn't there.
Okay,
Farina's, I think.
he loves Farinas. You loved it.
People
for a
know
long
me
time.
that I work there now, and it's because I've known the owner over the years and done art shows there. But it's one
If
of
you
those
want to find
opportunities that
Josh, you'll find him at Farina's. You'll find him at
Sister
Sister. You'll find him at
Farina's and Sister.
no,
That's
the
it.
coffee shop.
Oh, Slow Burn.
Slow Burn.
Yeah.
He
Those are my
loves
3
slow
favorite
burn.
places in
And-
the city.
Yeah.
And Canvas, of course. You gotta go
Yeah.
check in with the homie, my Jesus, who's become a great friend and
Yeah.
almost a brother these days, and my cousin Speed, of course, always checking in on them over there and making sure everybody's
And
right.
Lapis.
And Lapis. Gotta go
Yeah.
check out Lapis.
Yeah. So I think we've had a great interview.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks
you
for
so
coming
much
and
for
chatting
coming
with
on.
us.
Yeah.
It's been fun.
Very honored
Went by
you were
fast.
our
Yeah.
inaugural
I know.
guest. Yeah.
I know. We got the
Yeah, literally.
like
Cut it.
like at the Academy Awards when they start playing the music.
I know.
Yeah.
You're all right, you're
Shut
done.
off. The music, the lights just turned
Yeah.
on.
Well, it's been great talking to you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
guys, for tuning in, and thank you so much for coming on. We
Yeah.
Of
appreciate
course. Yeah, thank you guys.
And do you know her?
I know, huh?
it. Hey. Bye, guys.
See you guys.